Time now to take a look at what's been making headlines in the international press. And for that, I'm joined on set once again by Haxi Myers-Belkin. Now, Haxi, the White House Correspondents' dinner took place, of course, this weekend, but took on a very different hue to previous events in previous years.
It certainly did, primarily because the White House was notably absent from proceedings. And rather unsurprisingly, newspapers around the world have been keen to analyse that no-show in the context of a presidency that time and time again shows open contempt for journalism. This piece in the Huffington Post opens by quoting the Washington Post's executive editor as saying that the White House didn't send anyone out of solidarity with the president, but we're here out of our own sense of solidarity. And that, we read here, gave a sort of seriousness to proceedings, with a number of news organisations shunning Hollywood guests in favour of filling tables with high school and college journalists. As for the entertainment, well, that task fell in part to Daily Show host Hassan Minhaj, you can see him there, who, according to this rather entertaining roundup in Slate, managed to score more than a few shocked silences and appalled gasps. My personal favourite line riffed on the recent news that Fox News anchor Bill O'Reilly was fired after a slew of allegations of sexual assault. In O'Reilly's defence, says Minhaj, he was told by a close friend, when you're a star, they let you do it. It's a shame in a way that Donald Trump wasn't there for that one. I'd have been very interested to see how he reacted.
And Haxi, you found a piece in the British left-wing daily The Guardian that's also likely to further rile the journalist community.
Absolutely, and the timing here is really quite amazing. We read in this piece that just a day after famed Watergate reporters Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward used the White House press dinner to call journalists, to call Trump to account, Trump's chief of staff announced that the White House was actively looking into ways of challenging libel law that would impose new restrictions on news reporting.
So from potential constitutional provocations to military provocations. And Haxi, you've been taking a look at how the Chinese press has been reacting today to those mounting tensions along the Korean peninsula.
Yeah, so let's start with this editorial in today's China Daily. It's essentially an impassioned warning that just one miscalculation by either North Korea on one side and the US and South Korea on the other would easily push the two sides to the brink of war. And I'm quoting there. We read here that, yes, Pyongyang should awake from the fantasy that its pursuit of nuclear capabilities will bring it peace and security, but the US and South Korea also need to do their bit by stepping down the deployment of the THAAD anti-missile system. The easiest way, we read here, to create the conditions for dialogue. China, of course, being seen by the Trump administration as a key ally in reining in North Korea.
That's advice from Beijing for Washington. But what about American advice for China?
So if we take a look at this piece in Hong Kong-based South China Morning Post, we read that Trump is using the threat of labelling China a currency manipulator to keep China in line as far as North Korea is concerned. Trump had previously insisted, of course, that he'd label Beijing a currency manipulator on his very first day in office. But now that it's in Trump's interest to keep Beijing on side, well, it's been pushed, at least for now, further down his list of priorities.
OK, let's move on now to Turkey. And it's been a busy weekend there. Haxi, tell us more.
Yes, so we read in this article in the New York Times that this weekend saw the Turkish government, emboldened by its recent referendum success, expand its crackdown on dissent. Almost 4,000 public officials have been fired this weekend. Free online encyclopedia Wikipedia has been blocked, and matchmaking TV shows have also been banned. Now, if we cross over to liberal-leaning Turkish paper Hurriyet Daily News, we read that the emergency decree banning TV dating shows aims to prevent shows that, quote, damage the institution of family, taking away its nobility and sanctity. An idea that is quickly countered, it's worth saying, in that same article by a lawmaker from the main opposition CHP party, who, rather sardonically it must be said, asks whether the attempted coup in the country last July was staged by marriage programme, so very tongue-in-cheek there. These latest decrees, argues this opposition MP, include regulations that are against basic human rights. And that same argument crops up elsewhere in that same paper in an interesting op-ed headlined, "The Terror of Ambivalence." Yes, these recently banned dating shows are trash TV, we read here, but, and I'm quoting, we don't know what will be banned next by decree or by regular laws. Unsurprisingly, it's a very different story in the pro-government Daily Sabah, which isn't covering news of the ban of Wikipedia or those dating shows at all. Instead, what we get is an opinion piece outlining how Western attempts to alienate and undermine Turkey have failed. And for any proof, if we needed it, we're instructed to look at how many countries are going to be rolling out the red carpet for President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in the next 3 weeks. India, Russia and China among them.
Something a little lighter to end with. Lighter, that is, providing you're not Donald Trump.
Absolutely. So this is one of those examples of civil disobedience that just captures the public imagination and takes on a life, or should I say intelligent life, of its own. In this piece in the Washington Post, we read that President Trump recently announced the creation of a hotline for victims of immigration crimes. And a man named Alexander McCoy saw something of an opportunity for a Twitter prank here, essentially calling on the great American public to address all their alien-related concerns, that is, UFO-related concerns, to that hotline, and of course they did oblige in their thousands, so enthusiastically, in fact, that US Immigration and Customs Enforcement issued a tweet urging pranksters to stop.
Haxi Myers-Belkin, thank you very much for that look at the international press this hour. Time now